Welcome to the Dare Show podcast, where I talk about music. I talk about what's popping in the world. This week, or this episode, this special episode is about how the white men are going crazy. Okay, so we have Joel Osteen, the preacher, and what's his name? Alec Baldwin. Alex? Whatever, Alex. I think his name is Alec. Alec Baldwin. And how these white men are going wild. So let's talk about Joel Olsteen first. So let's just read the article. A plumbing repair called into a radio station, a Houston local. Was that Houston? Yeah, a Houston radio station, and was like, "Yo, I found money in the walls of Joel Osteen's church." So the article says bags and bags of cash and checks in a bathroom wall. The discovery came several years after someone stole $600,000 in cash and checks from a safe at Olsteen's Lakewood Church. According to a report from KRPC Channel 2. The station suggests that whoever stole the money in 2014 may have hidden it in the bathroom wall. A plumber named Justin, who works for a large contractor, told the station that he got a call about a loose toilet at the church on November 10th. Oh my God, this was the other week. Justin said he started working on the toilet and had to remove the tile and insulation. The station reports once he removed the insulation, he discovered about 3,000 envelopes full of checks. Some had cash in it, Justin said, as he called in. Justin said in a call, Justin said he called the church's maintenance supervisor and had to stay at the church for almost 7 hours. Justin said the church or HPD never thanked him or reached out to him about the $25 reward. Oh, the HPD. So there was they never reached out to him because the statute of limitation had ended. Is that the right terminology? To get the money for the reward, it had ended. Justin said he often called Crime Stoppers about the reward money, but never heard back because it ended. He had tried reaching out to Joel Osteen, but he hasn't heard back. This is the crazy part, right? Recently, while repair work has been done to the Lakewood Church, an undisclosed amount of cash and checks were found, the church representative said. Lakewood immediately notified Houston Police Department and is assisting them with their investigation. Lakewood has no further comment. In 2014, Houston police said $200,000 in cash and $400,000 worth of checks. What? Were stolen from a safe at the church. At the time, the church said the stolen money represented funds that were contributed. Why do I have a hard word saying that word? Whatever. During one weekend of services. Somebody is going to jail. Somebody has to go to jail for this. First of all, $200,000 in cash is stolen and $400,000 worth of checks are stolen from a church safe. Y'all ain't got cameras in it? You know what? Okay. See, this is the problem people have with Joel Olsteen and his shady business. People don't believe that he should be getting away with this kind of shit. And I remember listening to Clay Kane and or it was like Heather B or somebody. I think when the hurricane happened, of course, when that hurricane happened in like Houston, I think this was last year. I don't think it was this year. Yeah. No, not the hurricane, the blizzard earlier this year. Excuse me, when Louisiana and Texas, when we were like snowed in and snowed out. And or maybe it was a hurricane. Maybe it was both times. Who remembers for real? And Joel Osteen has that mega ass church in Houston, which is really big. I drove past it going into Houston last year, and it's on like the side of the. It's like on the. It's near the like directly near the freeway, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, anyways, so and he didn't let the people inside for like safety or recovery or whatever from the hurricane, refuge from the snow or hurricane, whatever happened from the disaster, and he was being criticized for it. It's kind of ridiculous. Like if just open the church doors. I don't understand what could have been wrong. Just just a shady mess. I didn't even read that. I didn't even remember reading that part about $600,000 and $400,000 being stolen, and y'all only got cameras. Like, come on now. It sounds like the police department might have cooperated, because there's no way like you just gonna tell me you lost money in a church and there's no cameras here. Like, get out of here. Get out of here. It's almost 6, 7 years ago. And now, you know what? God works in mysterious God works in mysterious ways. These lies and hoax that these people are doing, just like Jussie Smollette, he's being tried and true for, I read it, it was staging a fake hate crime. Those are his charges. I don't know what, the repercussions are for it, but he's being tried, and his trial started recently this week, and he's just talking about a whole bunch of shit. My thing is with Jussie, I think he's guilty. I don't think he's not guilty. I think he's guilty, just like Joel Osteen and his church are guilty. Um, the reason why I think he's guilty is because his story with Robin, even like the interview, his story he did with Robin Roberts on GMA, his story is like fugazi. It's very fake sounding, and it just sounds different from what like the police, what I believe the police like recounted and put together, and like literally the evidence. Like, I don't think any evidence has come out saying that these white people like pour bleach on him or like some kind of powder or something on him and then like put him in a noose, and like it doesn't. To be honest, thinking about today's culture, they would have killed you. They wouldn't have done any kind of like MAGA shakeup. They would have killed you. Like, these white people out here killing black people. They're not shaking them up. Like, come on, Jussie. Come on. And I think like even like the police people, they found out like the two black dudes. I don't even say black dudes, but the two dudes he hired did the job. I, Jussie is a stunt queen. Jussie is a terrible liar. He's not a great vocalist. Just when people are like slightly getting, I remember Jussie. Oh my gosh, I remember Jussie. Oh, what is the movie called? I don't remember the movie, but it was a gay movie back in, I think, like 2008, with Dustin, when Dustin was like a person, like an up and coming personality. Now I think he's on like maybe some TV shows, or I know he's on like a podcast, a very popular podcast nowadays. but Dustin was in it, and Jussie was like the main star. Patrick Allen Polk, I believe, was the director and writer of the movie. This was like back in the not back in the day, but like because I'm not that old to be saying like back in the day. But this is like 2008 or nine or something like. No. I can't even remember. But it was I think it might have been around the time the second Noah's Ark movie came out, or third. Was that a third movie? I mean, a second or a first? Maybe it was the first one. The last one where they went like on a ski trip. I think they got buried in there, something like that. Anyways, um, yeah, that's where I remember Jesse from. And then his little climb, his little goat voice. Everybody hates. Everybody clowns him for. And then he went on to Empire, and I think the reason why I think the ultimate reason that came out. Like, I swear, I thought this was already, like, done. Like, I think they're just now charging him, but, like, I think all this evidence and stuff came out already about him doing this and faking it. And the thing is, Frank Gatson, who's Beyonce's former choreographer, pretty much a legend in the industry for creative director and choreographer. He did in Vogue's choreography, Destiny's Child choreography, Beyonce's choreography, Kelly, Michelle, individually. The thing is, I guess he's now a manager. He's managed June's Diary, which is saying we're not going anywhere. He's managing, allegedly, he's still managing, or he was the manager, or whatever, of Jussie's career at that time. Still might be. So, like, and they were like, I meant to, wait, maybe I could read through some stuff. But then they were like, Jussie is, he called the police because I guess I'm. Let me see. My thing was I think he was like convinced that Jussie was going through something, so he actually called the police. And I don't know if that was Jussie's plan. It's just very foul because I'm like, okay, now Frank is dragged into this. I'm like, is Frank going to jail? They're about to send Frank to jail. This is horrible. And people are like, I don't understand how you can stick beside somebody like this. They're like, his family and his friends are outside. And I'm like, I don't understand how you can stick beside somebody who's lying and clearly lying. See, this doesn't make sense. I'm probably taking this out of context, but it says, I'm a black man in America, and I do not trust the police. Smollette under oath why he did not call the police after the attack. And then it says, Frank, his manager, later called the police. So, I mean, you can't convince somebody not to call the police, but if they... Jussie, this is a mess. This is a hot-ass mess. The trial, closing arguments are done, jury's being instructed, so they're gonna see if he's guilty, if they're gonna say he's guilty. Oh, prosecutor alleges Smollette's attorney, a Nigerian, the dude, dragged fellow Nigerian Bola reputation through the mud by telling jury Bola is a criminal, yet no evidence or priors shown. Okay, whatever. I'm trying to get to like yesterday's stuff. His defense is beginning its closing arguments. Smollette was just like talking about. Oh wait, closing arguments. Prosecutor tells Smollette lied to police department 6 times about this. I believe it. A hate crime because he was black and gay. Battery, bodily harm, aggravated battery, attacker wearing a mask. Attacker, there's 2 of them. What is that? Smollette withheld critical evidence. And then he brought, and he said, Don Lemon, the news anchor, texted Jussie about details about his case, which I think is not legal or something like that, or you're not supposed to do. Okay, I think that's all. So shout out to Jussie and his guilty ass. That's like I'm just like I don't know how people can be beside him. And the one thing about Clay Kane, who is a like I said, people would call in to Clay. Going back to what's his name, Joel Osteen, they were calling and kind of no, they weren't defending him. They were kind of talking about how Joel Osteen is a fake and he's not a great pastor, and his father or his grandfather started the whole church thing, and he just took it on, and he's not good at it, and how he's done like shady business, I think, in the Houston area or the Texas Houston area or whatever. But then people like Clay Kane, of course, I guess, when you become a figure on like radio, when you have a platform and you're on like a big platform like Sirius or, the news or TV or whatever, I guess you have to definitely be careful what you say. But it becomes sort of like with Clay Kane, it becomes sort of, you're always dodging the sort of truth, the root of the truth, to get your point across. Or because I can't talk about this, I'll talk about that. That's what it comes off as. Because he'll be like, I think he tweeted, the prosecutor tried to get Jussie to change his statement or something like that. And then the judge is not a good judge, and the judge has a shady past himself and stuff like that. But it's like, well, if Jussie didn't even do this in the first place, stage this hoax in the first place, we wouldn't even be here. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not the judge's fault. It's not the prosecutor's fault. It's Jussie's fault because Jussie is definitely lying. Like, come on. And then people like Heather B. I'm just like down to the whole, like, I've said this before, but about Urban View and how they have problematic hosts. Heather B. She'll talk about stuff in a way that will benefit or won't put her in a shady part of town, because she still is in the industry, and she's still like she's in this movie that Jussie just filmed, Jussie directed. She's in the movie as an actress. She's acting in the movie, and the movie just came out a couple of weeks ago. And so I'm sure she's not going to talk about this in a way that she really probably feels or knows, because she said it like last year. She was like, I'm still close with Jussie, that's my friend. And I think she did say she believed him, but I know she said she was close with him and that's her friend. But it's like, is he your friend, or is he like your industry friend that you got a job with, whatever? So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes Heather, she'll she's in hip hop, but she'll act like it's not true. Like, something will happen in hip hop and she'll curve around the truth or curve around what the popular opinion might be, or whatever. Not that the popular opinion might be bad or good, but whatever it is, she'll curve around it. And it's like, Wendy Williams kind of did it best. Wendy was like, which, side note, I think I believe this is Wendy's last season. I think I just read that. This is Wendy's last season, and it has not been renewed. And she's not coming back earlier next year. It doesn't seem like. Well, no, she's not coming back because they have hosts lined up already for like January, I think into February. So, but anyways, Wendy, who I thought was, the TMZ video, she seemed like she was doing a lot better. She seemed very coherent. She seemed very eloquent. What was I saying? So Wendy did it best. Wendy was always like, I'm here to do a job. If you want to hang out and you're in the industry, Mary, if you want to hang out, let's hang out. But if we go to the club and something pops off, you better believe I'm going to talk about it tomorrow morning, because this is my job. Like, Wendy was very much and always has been, well, I think I would say probably like 90% of the time, 95% of the time. She's been very much, this is a job, this is my job, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what's going on. Not like these other people. Oh, gosh. What do you guys think about this, Jussie? Like I said, I think he's definitely guilty. I'm so crazy. I'm like screaming at Frank Gatson being dragged into this. Ugh, this is terrible. All right, I'm gonna take a quick break, and when I come back, let's talk about Alec Baldwin. My God, today. Okay, welcome back to the Dan Show podcast. So a little wrap up for Jussie, right? So basically, it's Jussie's word against the police department and the two guys that he hired to do it, because the two guys he hired to do it are saying they did it. This is when he started planning it. This is what happened. This is where we went to do this, that, and the other. And I think because of that, Jussie is now having to explain a lot of things that we probably don't need to hear about, him being high and on cocaine and weed and drugs and going to the bathhouse and doing things. And I'm just like, okay, this is extra stuff that I don't think we really needed to know. But because of you and your lies and your hoax. Anyways, on to Alec Baldwin. So I had, we heard about Alec and this gun going off, him, quote unquote, shooting an accidental murder of the director of photography. I forgot her name, but I think she's like Russian. The cinema of photography on his independent, low budget, not in a bad way. I'm just saying that's what it was. It was a low budget, independent film being made called Rust. And so the thing that really caught me about this was in the previews and the trailers for this interview he did with Stephanopoulos, what's his name? Whatever his name is, white dude on GMA, who's really doing a lot of interviews. It's very interesting seeing this new wave of like new people talking or having like these sit down interviews or whatever. But anyways, so Alec did an interview with Dave Stephanopoulos. That's not his name, but Stephanopoulos. And the thing about the interview that kept getting my attention was he kept saying, I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't shoot her. And it's just like, okay. So here's some of my notes that I took from the interview. The interview basically was to save his ass. And he would low-key blame the handlers, because there's a handler, there's a gun handler, and then there's a gun handler, and then I guess there's like the assistant gun handler. And because this is a low budget film, there was like a lot of things going around talking about a lot of like mistakes, I get, or bad things going on, or unfair treatment. Like there aren't a lot of, this is a low budget film, we don't have a lot of people, it's an independent film, so different departments are being stretched, things aren't being taken care of that need to be really taken care of, accidents are happening that are not supposed to happen, things like that. And so with Alec being he's a producer, EP on the show, executive producer, on the movie. So he was like, I was never really told, he's really covering his ass. I was never really told about all these accidents that are happening. If there was something wrong, I never became aware of it, except for like one thing. And that was literally all he said. But anyways, there was a gun handler, and then another handler, I guess the assistant handler. And so the gun handler child, ABC dug up some shit. I don't know where they found this stuff from. They were like, we're gonna give y'all some information. But ABC found some like podcast lady, the gun handler did, and she was like, I wasn't I don't know if she's talking about Rust, but she's talking about some movie. I don't think she had a lot of experience. So she's like, I'm not that experienced, so I wasn't really sure if I would be confident enough to do this movie or do the job. So, but here I am. I think that, they're using that against her. Um, Alec might be lying. I'm going to play the two sides of the fence. Alec might be lying because most of his tears, like the story doesn't add up completely with him. First of all, with his lying and him like, I didn't pull the trigger. He was like the gauge or something. Something else went off. He said he was just holding the gun. Like, should I hold it? Like he was testing with the camera. The cinema, a photographer, the lady, she was like, hold the camera this way, hold the camera that way. He's like, okay, can you hear it like this? Click, click, click. Do you want to see it like lower? Do you want to see it higher? And then he just said it just like went off or something like that. And I'm like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, how does, and that's what I'm like, they should have brought like a gun expert in, ABC, to be like, what could have happened to make, what could have happened to make this, gun not click off, but just go off. And I'm just like, y'all, because that doesn't make sense. How do you just hold the gun and it just goes off? He's definitely blaming the one person because he was told, in his life's work as an actor using guns. He's like, I was told I had a cold gun, and what a cold gun means is it's nothing, it's empty, or it might have like dummy bullets, or what they call it, little bullets in it. So he doesn't think it's his fault, and in that way, it just doesn't make sense with him saying that. I do believe him. I believe him, but he might be lying and some other things. But I do believe him when he's like, it's not my fault that the gun went off. But it's like, well, why did the gun, or how did the gun go off and you not pull the trigger? That's the thing. That's really the ultimate question for me. But definitely there's other ultimate questions that everybody else has, like the gun handlers. Allegedly, people were like, I don't even say allegedly, but, people were allegedly playing around with the gun and the gun wasn't cold. And in that way, people were like, everybody wants to like want people to take accountability and to be guilty. And I'm like, he said he doesn't feel guilty for this accident happening. I'm like, I kind of agree. I wouldn't feel guilty because it's not really his fault. He didn't know about the bad treatment on set. He talked so fucking fast in this interview. It was just like, you gotta slow down a little bit. Because you're just talking like a mile a minute. He didn't realize, he didn't realize the bullet. Oh, he didn't realize the bullet was the reason why the lady, was laying on the ground. He said the gun went off. This is the part that doesn't make sense. Another part that doesn't make sense. He's like, the gun went off and ma'am went down on the floor. Cinema photography went on the floor, fell on the floor. He was like, did she like pass out? Did she have a heart attack? whatever. Then he said, because he said the gun went through her, killed her. Well, not instantly, I don't think, but it killed her and went through the director's shoulder. I guess he was like behind her. Went through the director's shoulder and injured him. And so he's like, we were told to evacuate the building. I don't know what happened. We were put in a police car. We went to the police station. They found out the gun was not cold. The gun had a bullet in it, and it shot her. And so he's like, I had no idea why anything happened. Why, she was on the ground. I was so confused. Like, why was she on the ground? Why this? Why that? And I'm like, you didn't feel the gun release the bullet? Like, what were you doing? It just doesn't make sense. Like, he's like, because, we all thought the gun was empty, why would the thought be, well, how else would, it just doesn't make sense. Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. How do you see this lady fall out and this man get injured, but you're thinking something else happened? Jesus, fix it. Heal it. But it is sad. It's sad. On that note, tell me what you guys think about this episode. And these men going crazy, / these white men going wild. We got Mr. Alec Baldwin. We got Jussie Smollette. We got, what's his name? Joel Olsteen. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for listening to the Dare Show podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at My Love Money Tonight. The podcast is on Anchor. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, Google Podcast, the podcast of all podcasts. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and click around the YouTube. Oh, it's on YouTube also. It's on YouTube. So yeah, shout out to healing. Let's heal the world. How about that?